And we have come back. A similar appalling situation has happened, like as it has previously.
Gotta take care of that storage, man.
So yeah, my good man here, he has a little, a decent amount of videos and other recordings. So we will just call this part two of Magick, whatever he decides to call it. But yeah, going back to what I was talking about, is with caution and with, are we getting into these things for the right reason? And maybe possibly, somebody could get into this, just say for the tail feather reason. Maybe, that's not good, because that means you're not really on the road to awakening. But possibly it won't do too much harm, and maybe it can lead into actually wanting to learn about it. We live in a time to where people can post these things online, and you could maybe dress like really goth, and just people's going to think you're a witch, and that's cool though. It doesn't have anything to do with the truth though.
No, it does not.
And that's the thing we should be after. Look, the truth is, the truth is about to be revealed. At least another one. That's, these bodies are so freaking temporary that I've kind of gotten to the point, we talked about this earlier, there's just no point in like really going out and, just say for an example, to get a bunch of tattoos, because we spend so much time having to do things due to how culture and capitalism is set up. It would be nice if we all lived the way they do, in the jungle, the way the ancient shamans lived, and we was constantly trying to connect with the state of consciousness. But yeah, unfortunately, there's places we have to be that's just absolutely mind draining. Um, and that's a mask that we have to fit into. It's fake. It's fake conversations. And I'll be honest with you, we're very at the end of our rope on this. It's becoming intolerable. The great Carl Jung, he talked a lot upon these subjects. I watched it was a slideshow, various pictures, and it was an old recording of him talking about. Maybe it wasn't him; it was somebody talking about some of his writings. But when you start to awaken, there's some rather difficult stages that you will go through until you get to this certain point of being fully awake. Your third eye is now open. Dr. Carl Jung talked about losing motivation to do your usual daily tasks. Some people will start to refer to you as lazy. You will not want to work. There was a woman, which he talked about, who had a stage in her spiritual journey that she got out of bed to eat and use the bathroom. Her husband couldn't figure out what was going on with her. She lost motivation. She found the truth. The truth was revealed to her. And as I mentioned, it could be of various forms, but I can feel that. He can feel that. This day to day activity is monotonous, and monotonous is a very nice way of putting it. Going to work and putting on this face that I'm happy to be here again and to be a slave. I probably shouldn't act like that because I don't want people to think that I'm too crazy. But it's the truth. What will make you crazy?
To not be able to express your emotions on a day-to-day basis and having to repress that.
It's kind of it, man.
Getting back to some magic. I mentioned the four elements that our planet separates us, from space. So it is with a magical circle. If you're wanting to do any kind of work, whether it be
On yourself, possibly.
scrying or spell casting, you will want to consecrate a space to do this. Necromancy, whatever kind of thing you're doing, you'll want to open a circle. What's called opening a circle. So that would be invoking the 4 alchemical elements, which correspond to the coordinate points on the compass. So north is earth, east is air, south is fire. I thought you could do that.
Yes, sir.
South is fire, and west is water. In Satanism, they do Belial is the lord of the earth, Lucifer is the lord of the east, Satan is the lord of the
That's
south.
what Crawley was referring to, probably,
Really?
wasn't it? I bet. In his
Like
poem.
Lord of the Fire and
Yeah.
stuff? Very well could be.
Yeah.
And Leviathan is the west. Leviathan is associated with water. But more generally, yeah. So you have earth, air, fire, water, and then obviously spirit is what is holding it all together, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of systems, they will represent these elemental forces. They call them they're called elemental forces. So they're like the spirit of the earth, air, and fire, and water. And you will call upon these forces and ask them to come forth out of the night and help you and aid you in protection in the circle. So how I will do it is I'll say, I'll face the north and I'll say, spirits of earth, I ask that you come forth and protect me this night. So mote it be in the name of the goddess and the god. I'll turn to the east and I'll say, spirits of earth, spirits of air, come forth from the night and aid me in protection in my circle this night. So mote it be. And I'll continue that. And then once I say that, I will take my wand or my hand, whichever one I'm using, and I will draw the circle. And I will, in my mind, imagine this energy going around and protecting me in this circle. Because there's something about the connection of visualization. I really do think, like I said before, you know, everything that we have, everything that you can possibly think of came from the mind first. It's always conceived here, and we can manifest this stuff, you know, by speaking and by visualizing. And so I'll visualize this space, and then once the circle is opened, I say, the circle is opened. I now begin my rite. And maybe I just want to meditate in there for a while.
Yeah, get into a cleansed place.
Oh my God, if you've ever opened a circle, you will know what a dramatic energy shift that is. Oh my God.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh my gosh. When you consecrate a circle, you're in your own universe.
Didn't you say it's kind of weird to come back, usually have something to eat?
Yep.
Like that,
it's called grounding. It's especially like if you're casting a spell.
That's like
you'll want to do something to kind of like not think about it too much. You want all your thought to go into the ritual, not after the fucking ritual.
Yeah, you want to kind of get your mind back to.
Yeah. Don't cast the spell and then say, "Oh, I hope that works," or you know.
That's big.
Okay,
that's a lot.
So like, this is the idea. When you are exerting that energy outward in a spell, you know that you can do this. You know, this has been done for a long time. If you do it right, it will work. So there should be no ands, ifs, or buts about it. You know, you're doing it in vain if you get done with the ritual and then start worrying if it's going to work or not. It's going to work. Yeah. It's going to work. But you could also use this space to just simply study.
Yeah.
And just be in this consecrated space and study,
yeah.
or meditate, or you can meditate but invoke a spirit.
Yeah.
You know, I might meditate and I might invoke Hecate, you know, the goddess of witchcraft, and have her presence there in my circle to maybe lend insight or you know. So yeah. So a big part of it is, you know, you got to consecrate a space, because if you don't, you know, there's going to be all kinds of unseen forces that may be influencing it. You know, oh, another thing you want to say when you open your circle is, I only allow into this space that which I will. You see, so you're kind of separated from the flow of energy around you.
This could be a reason why you know, over so many years, people that start to dabble in these forces, I mean, they've had their socks scared off of them because of not, you know, opening up or closing correctly. You know,
Oh yeah, that's another thing I should say.
closing correctly.
Closing. When you close, you will want to thank, you know, the spirits of earth, air, fire, and water. You know, thank you for lending energy, and I appreciate you. So what I do is, so I'll open the circle clockwise, and I'll close it counterclockwise. And when I close it, I'll say, you know, spirits of the earth, thank you for lending energy and protection to my right. You may go back into the night. So let it be, and then do that and close it. And if I've been working with a specific deity, I will thank it. You know, maybe I'll offer something into it. Maybe some incense or a sweet smell, something of that nature.
Now, is there? I was curious about this one question. Is there a reason why you open up clockwise and then end counterclockwise? Is it just?
I mean, you know, clockwise is kind of like
like
the natural flow of things, if you will, and then
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool way to look at that, though, because that's like a definite closing the cap back on.
Exactly.
I like that. And you know, we started off, you know, this video talking about, not this particular one, but yeah, the storage thing, kind of, you know, but that kind of goes to one thing you can put in there is I cannot think of words for now for some reason. Yeah, you know, back to these quotes and these different, you know, different languages. You know, Crawley, he would do some languages that, you know, just has this flow to it. You know, look,
Enochian.
We can call it speaking in tongue, even though that's not really the case here. It's just, you know, different semantics. That was a huge lightning, by the way.
Really?
Really
Wait
bright.
for it.
Yeah, let's get ready to happen. That was bright.
Damn.
I just glanced at it right when I done it too. But I was going to make a point, and I just can't remember something that you said. It was about the there it is. It wasn't as loud as I thought.
Kind of far away.
It's probably going to work this way.
Yep.
And then start scaring the bejesus out of us. Not joking, but
closing or opening a circle.
This actually can apply with a lot of things. A lot of people just have. Actually, I want to tell a quick story.
Okay.
This is kind of creepy, but I can't remember her name, but I can remember her book, which I partially disagree with. But seems like a very cool woman. The name of her book, I can't remember her name, is A Glitch in the Matrix. Now, the way she is referring to this, and I'm going back to this, ties into Magick and particularly a Ouija board.
Yeah.
So she wrote a book of a lot of people that's got with her. She had like either interviews with people, or I think she was kind of like she never really got that big, but a podcaster. But yeah, that was the name of her book, and she herself has had a lot of supernatural experiences happen to her. A lot of people have made reports of, you know, aliens and just weird stuff they've seen, ghosts. But there's this one story that stood out to me was a woman. Well, she's a woman now, but when this stuff happened, she was, you know, relatively young in her early teens. Before that, she's always been drawn and really interested into the occult. You know, started off kind of like how me and him did. We kind of started off really young, just being drawn to really old scary movies, and we later got into kind of like grunge, metal, and
Yeah. Sabbath,
Sabbath, a lot of the older stuff, and now, as we mentioned, Electric Wizard,
which
and
is like a new, like a not new, but a newer manifestation of
Yeah.
Sabbath. The Electric Wizard started like in the 90s.
they're still,
If you haven't heard them,
definitely
and
recommend.
if you're watching this video and you enjoy the content, you will enjoy Electric Wizard.
Oh, this will open up doors
Yeah.
for you, I promise.
Yeah.
But this woman, she, her and her friend got together, and she was just always interested in like the spiritual realms, and as LeVay called it, the macabre. But they wanted to have a Ouija board, but her friend like helped her make their own Ouija board from whatever they had laying around.
That's totally the same thing.
Yeah, it really is. But to make a long story short, since I ramble a lot, she attached an evil force that's caused her problems off and on. Like, there's been times she said in this interview that it's been like dormant and everything was okay, and then it happened again. But what happened was she was going to close it safely, but her friend got scared and tore up the Ouija board. But this is what's interesting. At first, this was a horrible thing to her, and it's really scary. But now she's gotten to accept it, and it's kind of helped her in some ways as well. Like, now she might see something coming that she wouldn't normally see, but it's still caused mostly negative consequences to happen in her life.
Yeah.
But the Ouija board is just kind of a classic, situation where you listen to people talking about their stories that's gone completely wrong. But I felt that was interesting. I'll just throw it in there real quick.
Have you ever used one?
I have not. I never have.
I've used one. I have one, obviously, in there.
Yeah. You've had, I think it was an Ouija board, maybe not. Yeah, pretty unsettling. You should probably tell that. Is it about the doll? I remember him telling me.
I can recount what I remember. I have it written down. I've had a couple experiences.
When you do so many psychedelics, sometimes it's kind of hard to
recollect.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a complete falsity.
It really is.
Actually, psychedelics help you
improve your brain function,
everything.
For sure.
That's something needs to be mentioned real quick.
The disinformation. People are still, living by the Reagan administration's view on these things.
If you want to talk about, not being able to really remember certain things, you can look at some of the other things. That's the thing, the alcohol. But no,
every time you drink, you're doing damage to your brain.
As soon as he mentioned that, I said, I'm going to mention that real quick because, yes.
I think Ouija boards are fascinating, and, there's obviously other methods for divining and necromancy.
How was your experiences with it positive, would you say?
I never had a negative experience with it. I had kind of unsettling. I had one here in this apartment, probably maybe a year ago, and I have done it. When I first got it, I tried to do it by myself a few times, because I know it's not as advised, and I had not too much success. And I did it with my girlfriend one night with all the lights off and a candle, and I was the speaker. And
where's that orange, by the way?
Oh, right here, brother.
Okay.
Hogging it for myself. But it spelled out. Okay, so it took a while for it to start for us to connect. It was strange. Like we probably sat there for 15 fucking minutes and kind of nothing happened, and then all of a sudden, it started to fucking move.
Now, I will admit that would. I think once it
I got
happened, I'd get freaked out.
I was freaked out.
I'd probably have a little mini panic attack.
And it just started like kind of twitching at first, and then it spelled out. I spelled out boy. It spelled out. I think it spelled out upstairs.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, boy.
I got it confused with something. I remember that. Yeah.
And it spelled out upstairs. And then it spelled out some directed us to some numbers.
Now let me ask
And
you
I think
this.
it even said hurt.
Mm,
It said hurt. I swear.
that's some kind of that's what is that? Yeah,
You know, I think that I probably contacted a human spirit. You know that.
possibly that's maybe could it be maybe in like a hellish realm right now and
Perhaps.
letting the physical know. I mean, look, what if this person is somehow, some way trying to warn us
Yeah.
to not make some of the mistakes that they have made? I mean, it could be so many things.
It could. And you know, I mean, maybe the Ouija board isn't the best way for divining because you know it is just letters and numbers and you know if you open a circle and you know call upon a specific spirit.
A lot of
You know, if
people
you
don't
pass
know
away-
about this, though.
If you pass away, I might try a Ouija board, but I
Mhm.
might also try to open a circle
Yeah,
and to maybe put in my circle things that relate to you
yeah,
and call upon you.
yeah. That's interesting. There's a guy. You know what's weird is that he passed away, and I think I mentioned him in another video. He was just such an amazing guy. Yeah, he lived in another state, but he worked at a mall in this state that you know me and my wife went to like every other day and talked to him. But yeah, he had some interesting experiences with Ouija boards, and I just can't help but wonder because I think about this guy really frequently. His name was Chris. You know, he was much older than me. He was just so nice, man. He was like
Yeah, you talked about him a
filled
lot.
with love.
Yeah.
I loved him because he loved the Beatles, and you know he loved the System of a Down.
Yeah.
And right after I found out he had passed away, I got really into System of a Down again. It was weird.
Man, I loved them, man.
Yeah.
You know, we all heard, you know, their classic songs, but their very first album has some really good songs on it, man.
Yeah.
That one song, how's it go? I had an out of body experience the other day. Her name was Jesus, and so her everyone cried.
That's a magical guy himself. He sings.
Yeah,
A very magical guy.
singing is magic. I mean, I think that music is magic. I think that you know these plants. I think there's magic plants. You know, people talk about magic mushrooms. You know, I think kratom is magic and cannabis is magic. The fact that I can imbibe a organic, safe plant, and all of a sudden I have ideas. That is magic.
Yeah.
You know, and we should all be using magic. I think because we all are anyway.
Anyway, might as well make it as you know. Jim Carrey, you know, he wrote down like a couple years before he actually got his first like lump sum check, whatever it was. He wrote it down and said. He grew up extremely poor, and he said, "This is what I'm going to get." And just he pulled it out of his wallet and looked at it a lot, and it came true later on.
Dude, I was reading just the other day. This guy got on the occult subreddits, and he was saying, "Did I curse my dad?" He said that he got in an argument with him, and he said like his dad did something really bad to him. I don't remember what it was, and he screamed at him. With as much anger as he could because he was so angry and he said I hope you die of cancer and like the next week he got diagnosed with cancer and ended up dying, you know.
Whoa.
So it's intent plus energy, you know, is really what magic is, and we can do extraordinary things and we should be careful and do magic as consciously as possible. Wow. You know, there's no telling what we can accomplish if we really concentrate our will.
Yeah.
You know,
it's this is very serious stuff. You know, you know. Now going back to that gentleman that I said, you know, I was friends with. He, I wonder, you know, because he talked about, you know, his Ouija board experiences so much. I can't help but wonder if like maybe. You know, his girlfriend or somebody else close to him. I wonder if they tried to connect with him in that way. Yeah. You know, I've even had it cross my mind before, but I would probably, you know, only resort to that as you mentioned if, you know, one of us, somebody extremely close to us, But this when people talk about magic, I feel that that's, and there is a lot of misconceptions with that as well. But a lot of people go straight to that,
Yeah.
and that's their interpretation. But as you said, if you want to get into that, talk to a deceased uh, loved one.
Mhm.
You know, getting in that circle, as you mentioned, would be the safest way to go about
Yeah.
it.
And another thing about magic is,
I'm gonna run to the bathroom
course.
extremely quick,
Yep.
brother.
The Bhagavad Gita says this. It says, another man's path is dangerous. The Bhagavad Gita says, it is better to be an honest street sweeper than a dishonest king. And, you know, I think we should also be conscious and mindful about, you know, what direction do we feel compelled to go? What path do we feel compelled to go? You know, because if you're casting, you know, magical spells, and you know, it might not be the path that you're supposed to go down. So I think this idea, like the Crawley talked about, contacting your higher self, I think that is a very important part of this. And besides, you know, using magic to manifest your will, there's another important piece about it, which is accelerating your development. You know, what may be achieved through lifetimes in, you know, Hindu cosmology may be able to be achieved in one lifetime using magical methods, because you can open portals and open dimensions of information that will aid you greatly. And you know, you should go, any kind of information that you extract from hyperspace, you know, whether it be through spirits that visit you in your circle, or or um or even, you know, even like the mushroom, you know, I don't know what the mushroom is, you know. I think we should even take that with a grain of salt.
Sure.
And use discernment, you know.
And communicating with whatever those beings are.
Exactly.
You know, in these places.
Yeah.
There was a woman I was listening to. She was talking about that, and you know, yeah, that one of the beings that she reached out to. She didn't really. She was emotional when she was talking about it, but it seemed like what she said. This they didn't really have the best interest for her.
Yeah.
You know, you've even talked about there. It's crazy. It really is. They're looking at you like, how did you get in here?
Oh my god.
That's just so scary. Like
I have personally.
Maybe they know when you're supposed to really come there. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's probably so deep.
You know, there's the idea of Shiva, you know, which is an aspect of the Hindu Trinity, and Shiva is you know, an annihilation god, a death god, and a destructive god. And it's the destruct. You know, we are all in the teeth of Shiva as we speak. We're all being chewed up and dissolved, and we're, you know, death is not far away from any of us, and we should. You know, how should we spend our time here on Earth? You know, in the midst of all
sometimes
this
that's overwhelming,
chaos.
isn't it?
It is
It's very overwhelming.
And I think that we should explore these things with an open mind, and find what works for you. And nature is full of secrets, you know, and our senses are very limited, and we should do everything we can to raise our consciousness, and to explore these things, especially death. You know, I forget where this saying comes from. It might be the fucking Bible. I don't even know, but there's this saying, you know, live with death over your shoulder.
I
think we should all live with death over our shoulder, and because you know, that's the great translator. You know, that's the great. I really do think that death will be this yank, the veil is just yanked open. And we should pay attention to our dreams. And
Man.
there's a lot of evidence that our dreams are probably running on DMT. Think about that. Our brains produce the most potent psychedelic known to man. Isn't that interesting? I think that in itself shows or indicates that these tryptamine psychedelics are some sort of portal to the mystical dimension, and it's so mind-boggling. The thing that you have been taught doesn't exist does exist. I mean, things that you would never in a million years believe could possibly occur will occur. And Rick Strassman called it the spirit molecule. There was a guy that called DMT, and mushrooms is a form of DMT. So what we have in our brains is NN-DMT. That's the one you have to smoke or pair it with an MAOI in order to ingest it orally. And then you have psilocybin, which is, I think it's O-phosphoryl NN-DMT. So it's very close. And that phosphoryl group makes it to where it's orally ingestible. It's, Dennis McKenna says this. I feel the same way. I think that mushrooms are the perfect psychedelic. They really are, because it lasts 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
And it requires zero preparation.
Yeah.
You can literally pick it off the ground and eat it. Obviously, don't just go around picking mushrooms and eating them. Obviously, you gotta be very careful.
Exactly.
There's mushrooms that will kill you. I think even people, I think there's rumors that the Buddha died from eating a poisonous mushroom given to him by someone. So perhaps he was eating psilocybin and maybe got a bad one.
That makes sense, doesn't it, man? He is the person. Talk about magic. Ooh, we should all strive to, awaken the way he did.
Yeah.
He, not only to enlighten and look forward, but to look back and recount past lives that he has lived.
Dude,
that's just
there are mystics out there that claim to have there's a lot of famous ones like Ramana Maharshi.
Is he alive now?
No, he was like in the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
And this guy, I'm pretty sure he claimed to recount his past lives, and he knew exactly when he was going to die.
And he was right.
And he was right.
Oh yeah, that guy's he's real.
Maharaji, he was a more recent one.
I'm
pretty sure Maharaji, it was either him or another one, a mystic. He always kept a diary with him, and on his last 3 days on Earth, all he wrote in his diary was Ram, 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 Ram. That's all pages of that. And he went and laid down and he dropped his body. That's what they call it, dropped his body. I love Ram Dass. Maharaji said it was another saint or holy man in India. He passed away. And everybody was all sad. And Maharaji was like, oh, don't be silly. Where could he go? Where could he go?
Yeah, I love that. Man, so I love, that's one of my favorite things. Going back to, these psychedelics and these different, all these are, by the way, I don't know, man. I feel like psilocybin could be, it's weird because, you have the truth, you have these things that's been passed down for so long that the Eastern mystics talked about.
Yeah.
You have magic, I call it ceremonial magic, which is kind of like a shortcut. And then I feel like if you're doing that along with another shorter cut with psilocybin, you're
accelerating.
Quick.
You're in this accelerated program.
I mean, this is the fast passes right here.
Yep.
I don't know.
And there's all these purists out there that,
that's
you know,
kinda
like
weird.
to,
I love this.
you know, oh, you know, drugs are just a hindrance on the path. I beg to differ. I mean, look at people like Ram Dass. I mean, he would not have became interested. See, the thing with Ram Dass, you know, he was taking, I think the first psychedelic he took was psilocybin, because Tim Leary went to Mexico, and he got with this group because in the 50s and 60s, people didn't know about mushrooms. You know, it was in the literature, but nobody knew that it was among us.
Yeah.
You know, there's psilocybin mushrooms that grow right here where we're at, and it grows in the United States. It goes everywhere. And Tim Leary, he had a psilocybin experience. He got with the shaman down there in Mexico, and he said
he cried for 3 days.
He cried for 3 days. He said that he learned more in those 8 hours.
Oh, that was so big.
That he did in years of psychiatric training.
That's so profound.
Yeah. And then he turned Ram Dass on.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh my God, this is astonishing." You know, and here, and Ram Dass talks about this. You know, here is a Harvard professor. You know, and he said he felt really bad because he was this Harvard professor, and everybody was looking at him like, oh, he knows what's up. He didn't know what was up, you know, more than the next guy, you know, and he felt like a fraud.
Yeah.
And when he was started to have these psychedelic experiences, and he started reading some Eastern mystic books, he saw like a correlation. You know, some of the things he was reading in this mystical literature was lining up with the experiences he was having. You know, because when I take psilocybin, I have visions of infinity and visions of reincarnation, and I get the sense that I am an infinite being and that I'm one with everything.
Yeah.
And that's very much like the cosmology of like Hinduism, for example.
Yeah, the way he talks about his you know, psilocybin experiences, and that's why he's also anxious for me to have a psilocybin experience.
Dude, I don't even know how you will react to this, dude. I mean, whatever you think it is, it's going to be much different.
I was going to say that, and I was also going to say, you know, he talks about whether it's a good or a bad experience, it will be connecting a lot of dots.
For sure.
From things that you may be working on, things in physical life, things that we're looking forward to in these like spiritual realms.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm really interested in. But I've had daydreams of like what I believe it's going to be like, but I still know at the end of the day I'm probably completely wrong on it. Maybe partially right on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you got a decent idea, you know, because through McKenna and through myself and the research you've done.
A great many of researches.
It's astonishing, you know, and it's magical. And what you realize when you have that experience is the world is made of magic. It is. Every bit of it. Every bit of it. You know, we draw this distinction between the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
That's just semantics, you know. That's
that's the truth.
This everything is spiritual. You know, this is just the spiritual incarnate in physical form. You know, we should investigate. You know, nature is full of secrets. Yeah, it is.
The Salsa for Secrets.
It's a great album.
Yeah, man. I feel like we've touched upon a great many of things. I gotta quit quoting. I would never.
It's a good saying, man.
I will quote LaVey forever. I've made arrangements.
It grants a great many wishes.
But yeah, I will come forth with the truth. I feel. I've said the things that I've, you know, prepared going into to say. As Terrence McKenna says, how did you say running out of coffee? Something.
Yeah, he said. Somebody was trying to ask a question, and McKenna said, "Hold on." He said, the coffee. He said the equilibrium is dropping. The caffeine is slowly leaving. He said, "Just let me get this out."
That's the truth. Yeah. Do you have anything, my good man, you would like to add, brother?
No, sir. I might do a Hare Krishna chant to
good
close this out.
Close the ceremony.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Very nice. My last words, I would love to say, read the Gita.
Read the
At
Gita.
least portions of it. I've never read it all the way through yet.
And
but,
you know, I think a good criterion for assessing truth is, does it resonate with you?
Yeah.
You know,
oh yeah.
If you're a liberated person and you've done, you know, the work of mental emancipation, LeVay talked about that, and you know, the first thing you should do if you've not even started on any kind of path, start to unravel yourself from your preconceived notions about reality, and then go into it, and then start to explore. And we'll close with this, I suppose. The great mystic poet William Blake said, "If the truth can be said, it will be believed. If the truth can be said, it will be believed. It resonates with the soul." You know, Ram says, he said the same. I talk to people now. You know, they're not on acid. You know, like I talked to, you know, people with their pupils huge back in the 60s, and they were nodding their heads and they understood. He said, now I'm talking to, he said, you know, there's grandmothers in the audience, and they're like,
yeah.
And he said, how could they know? How could they know? You know, it resonates with the soul.
That's beautiful, man.
All right.
The truth will be revealed.
The truth will be revealed.
I gotta stop doing that.
Hare Krishna. Until next time. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not in the Illuminati.
Yep. We detest that. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.